Hello everyone, Pineapple here with the last episode of Doctor Who for 2024, the Christmas special, Joy to the World. And boy, coming straight after Empire of Death, do I hope it's a good one. The last season was one of ups and downs, with Stephen Moffat being the shining outlier. So having him do the special was definitely the right choice, even if there were strange choices that I found in this story. Joining us as our Christmas companion, much in the same vein of Catherine Tate, The Waif, and even more so Kylie Minogue, who's already gotten a reference this season, we have Joy, played by Nicola Coughlan, who has been pretty well known recently in Bridgerton, but is also well known from Derry Girls and talking about her breasts on the internet. So with the preamble out of the way, let's get into the episode. We start in a 1940s era hotel mid-Blitz, told with titles far less distracting than either Chibnall's or the ones we saw in the 60th. As an older couple try to enjoy their mid-Christmas war, or is it a mid-war Christmas? And there are many small roles like these two, most pretty memorable, as even for such small roles, they're played quite earnestly. Their quiet evening is interrupted by 15 barging in from a door that was supposedly always locked and offering a ham and cheese toastie with a pumpkin latte, only finding confusion. And I may just be experiencing PTSD from Fine Time, but maybe a little bit of racism.
Just a little bit.
That's mostly a jest, as they don't even bring the Doctor up, just the confusion of the unknown door being opened at all. But others found it strange how they reacted. Like the woman hiding behind the man when the Doctor approaches, but they are mid-Blitz, so I don't really think it's like that. But it's strange that I've seen it brought up more than once.
Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
15 pulls the same trick with a woman on a train who looks longingly at a letter. Then some Everest climbers, and finally in 2024, where Joy gets a room at the Sandringham Hotel. The hotel manager Anita shows her around, Joy being a little over the top in copium, but pretty genuine. Like she's putting up a happy front. I wonder if that'll play into her character at all. She introduces herself to a fly, which I suppose is supposed to be charming and expository at the same time, but I just find it fucking weird. And the credits roll as she's interrupted by both 15 and a Silurian. And you know what, I didn't think about it until recording this, but it is a nice touch having a Silurian in here to reintroduce the audiences to their people, when I believe that they're going to be featured in the next spin-off, The War Between the Land and the Sea. We start the story proper in London 4202, at the Time Hotel, being pretty much what you'd expect from the name, with pretty good looking sets. 15 lands in his snazzy dressing gown to get some milk, totally not noticing the suspicious guy with the handcuffed briefcase. 15 is intercepted by a member of the staff that is actually quite charming, Joel Fry as Trev. 15 getting some good jokes off.
Got a Navcom algorithm that homes in on fresh milk. I could just get a fridge.
And depressingly realising his habit of getting mugs for two is acting up, as he is now companionless, heading into the TARDIS and gearing up unconsciously, realising how suspicious the guy with the briefcase was. He's intercepted by Trev again, and plays head office inspector pretty well, Trev following along charmingly, as 15 pretty quickly figures out how the hotel works. After a name drop that totally wasn't influenced by Everything Everywhere All at Once, 15 orders the food he was carrying before, showing off a clever but not used aspect of the hotel, the kitchen being 30 minutes out of sync, something that all restaurants need.
They start preparing your food before you order it. It saves time.
Yeah, it's still microwave though.
But you can't expect miracles.
15 sends Trev to watch the guy with the briefcase as he does his round trip with the food, claiming it's undercover work. And we get a demonstration of the antagonist as the man with the briefcase enters the bar, him saying its catchphrase and the case transferring itself to the barkeep, attempting to climb the chain of command, taking over the host's mind, which somehow makes them blink differently. The case sets its ex-hosts on a death timer, and it lures Trev inside, transferring to him, killing both the barkeep and the previous guy in a nice effect, not unlike the Ravager's abilities from Flux. One thing this episode gets mostly right is killing off its characters. Sure, it does the whole Stephen Moffat kill them without killing them trope at the end of the story, but each one, for a character given, 1 to 3 minutes of screen time probably, works quite well. Trev failing to tell the Doctor about the briefcase switching hands, as it dispatches him after using him to seek out the manager, who has access to all the time portals, a Silurian played by Jonathan Aris. 15 can't talk to Trev because,
Oh dear. I wouldn't let him down.
So heads into Joy's room, introducing himself, the situation becoming a mess as Anita comes back in, attempting to distance herself from the situation. The case tries to ensnare the Doctor, but as Joy repeatedly tries to get some answers, ends up with the briefcase. Joy being at least, for the most part, understandably cross, as horny Stephen comes out for a bit.
Are you two having a sort of game? I know all about these hotels.
The starseed will bloom and the flesh will
Don't be
rise.
filthy.
Is that saying only there for that joke? Because, unlike the mention of the starseed, I don't recall flesh being very important in the villain's plot. 15 deduces that the Silurian will die, Joy now fully under the case's influence, taking his pass and getting ready to voyage back. 15 tries to pep talk the Silurian into survival, as the case has for some reason now stopped its search of power, and we get another sad death. Shooty crying once again. Which, would have been understandable if either he hadn't cried almost every episode last season, or if this manager was another Vastra situation. 15 running into his old friend, but finds him acting strangely, noticing the case after missing him at the front desk earlier. And much like how Trev died sad that he couldn't help the Doctor, the manager could have done the same. As in the past, the Doctor helped him out with a mysterious plot that can be adapted by Big Finish 10 years down the line. Either option could have enhanced the scene, but as it is, it's just fine. But it should be better.
But it can be better.
Joy wants to leave, and with some funny yet utterly dated wordplay, 15 snaps her out of her mind control by opening the case revealing the starseed, and refusing to close the case until a second before Joy's incoming death, which lights a fire under her ass. Unfortunately, he has to put in a code to not kill her, which is only solved as he invites a latter version of himself into the room to give himself the code, using smart technobabble to wave away why this should be more dangerous than it is. Joy goes with the older Doctor, leaving the younger one alone, quite angry at himself, which is making me think good about Shooty. This scene where he insults himself is actually quite effective after Ruby's departure, and there were similar great scenes in Series 14 when he was angry, but I just find it strange how well he pulls off the Doctor's fury and self-doubt, something I felt Jodie never fully mastered. But 15 also seems to have failed so hard when it comes to sadness, always heading for the extreme. This gives us the best and worst of the episode, an extended, almost 10-minute sequence where 15 spends a year on Earth, waiting for the next confirmed entrance to the Time Hotel to appear to complete the loop. And we get a lot of great stuff, Anita becoming his BFF, but also she may want to bang him, but she's great, even if it takes her a little while to warm up properly. In fact, I think I like her better than Joy, and considering how this RTD era's companions seem to be a bit copy and paste from his first go-around, I hope Anita becomes the companion for Shooty's third season. Considering we have Ruby and Rose, blonde, young, mother subplots named after a shade of red, involved with at least 2 seasons, and next season's companion, Belinda, who all we know about her is that she is non-white and works in a hospital, much like RTD's other second companion. So if the next companion is a Donna ripoff, she should have appeared in this special, and considering what happened to Joy, I do hope it's Anita. 15 spends his time in the room he now rents, or working at the hotel, giving us a lot of funny shenanigans. Some depression as he refuses to contact Ruby, assuming she's better off without him, and before they know it, him and Anita set up a routine, making it even sadder when next Christmas comes along, and he has to leave to catch the time window.
I have a slightly complicated life.
Oh God, you're married, aren't you?
No.
They have a really sad goodbye, and eventually 15 finds the door and makes his way back to replay the case scene, taking Joy back to the hotel and leaving himself with Anita. So that was all great stuff, but Jesus, does it mess with the pacing of the episode. Seriously, that was so good, and now we have to go back to this less interesting plot? At this point, I just wish the whole adventure was Anita and 15 in the hotel. Then hey, maybe put Joy in there too. But the whole Time Hotel thing could have been its own story, and the fact that I was longing for a different episode for the next half hour is a strange unintended side effect that hinders my enjoyment of the rest of the story, even with the other great stuff here. Also, while 15's speech to Anita is good, it is a little redundant. Sure, you can see it as 15 wondering what living in the right order is like, but it feels a little cheap considering that was 14's whole arc. Joy, much like my dad, complains about how lazy the bootstrap is, but the case takes control again, leading her up the floors to an earlier point. And this may be the darkest 15 has gotten, and he plays it well. When his warnings don't get through to Joy, worried about how dangerous hatching the star could be for her, somehow just pulling it out of his ass that the ones behind the seat are a company, he tries to free her another way. This way involves getting under her skin, using her insecurities against her, and just kind of insulting her. And it's played excellently by the both of them, as Joy tries to retreat into the programming, and 15 is at his cruelest. But it's only once he brings up her mother she starts lashing out, having died in lockdown while she wasn't allowed to see her, affecting her so much that she starts assaulting him in the room, letting out the rage at the politicians that we all know felt free to impose rules on the people, and then got together themselves for parties, violating their own guidelines. 2.
Get on the beers.
I'm not a particular fan of Nicola Coughlan, but the sadness and anger of Joy is played pretty well here, as the Doctor consoles her for a moment, but the case was separated in their scuffle, and the Doctor's wild assertions are proven right as the case is revealed to be villain guard tech. The case brings up an avatar telling them the star is to be sold, needing to be matured, hence placing it so far in the past to be picked up out in another time door. This is able to happen as their time location is revealed with a T-Rex's chomping jaws. The CGI looking pretty decent, but I do feel the T-Rex should have been more of a threat. It getting one good chomp in and then just letting them get away. Sure, it might be being controlled by the case, so the plan is for them to collect it later, but that's not very well demonstrated. 15 figures that the location of the case would have been sent to Joy, but due to the forced separation, that won't happen. Instead, a copy of Trev emerges from the Sonic in a cute scene.
Doctor, your thing is buzzing.
Listen, all of me is pretty stressed.
15 is confused as Trev reveals all the recent dead personalities have been duplicated into the star and tells 15 the location of the case. 15 and Joy head to the pretty cool looking room where an altar has been built around the case, needing a large force to open as it shows it's still connected to Joy. This starts a pretty solid action sequence, even if all the CGI isn't perfect, where 15 goes through a couple of the times set up before and using a rope and hook plus a moving train to rip the altar apart. The case opens and Joy gives it a pep talk as 15 makes his way back, but not before wasting some of the 4 minutes before the end of the Earth, having a very meh scene with this woman. 15 finds the case empty and exits the tomb up a flight of stairs that look cool but make no sense, as that means any old fool could have just walked down the flight of stairs and found the starseed, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of having it locked up. 15 finds Joy needing a bit of Gaviscon as she takes the starseed into herself, happy to be with everyone else including Trev, and much like Astrid and Bill's puddle girlfriend, wishes to use her powers to be among the stars, saving humanity from the starseed's power. I do wonder though how she came to have the powers. Did she absorb it or did she shove it down her throat? Because that is a hilarious visual. 15 is more than a little perturbed, but with the power of the starseed they've rooted out Villengard's influence, and Joy swears to protect those within her and others, offering the Doctor some advice that he gave her earlier, which, while a little overdone as a theme in the show, and I feel it would mean more if the two of them had more of a bond, it is serviceably emotive. She floats into the air, joyful, and takes herself into the stars, becoming a ball of light, a bright star in the sky. And once again, doing well to tie in the minor characters, her star's shine is seen throughout time, giving hope to those who've lost it. The two in the middle of the Blitz, the woman on the train, the men in the mountains, Ruby Sunday, who receives a call from one of her mums, Anita, who fondly remembers 15's time with her, even being visited by one of the women from the Time Hotel, offering her a job at 15's recommendation. And the weirdest one by far, Joy's mother dies, laying her eyes upon Joy in the sky. And Joy, who swore to see her properly, absorbs her into the star, which, yes, them reuniting is a beautiful moment, but there are a lot of troubles here if you think about it too hard, which, unfortunately, I couldn't resist. First of all, tabling the implications, when Joy hangs up the call, the logo of Royal Hope Hospital appears in the middle of this emotional scene, meaning I spent most of the scene, my first go around, attempting to recall where I know the name from and realising that it's where Martha worked. distracting me from being emotionally invested. And then when rewatching, I thought upon the logistics. We see Joy's light absorb her mother, and with the others, as we saw, this disintegrates their bodies. And it seemingly does the same to her mother, but I suppose there's enough leeway for reasonable doubt that perhaps just her consciousness was absorbed, but if not, that means her body evaporated. So Joy would either be told her mother was missing, not dead, because if they confirmed her death, how would they bury her body? I think Joy would have brought up, they told me she was dead, but they also didn't have a body. Would Unit become involved, like Torchwood did in their sex gas episode, which did a similar thing to its victims? Also, speaking of bootstraps earlier, does this mean Joy becomes the Starseed and goes on this adventure because she murdered her own mother? Or, due to the stabs at the government during the pandemic, does this script endorse mercy killings? That was a bit of a miscalculation. And just to make this conversation all the funnier, and yes, I burst out laughing at this reveal, Joy is the Star of Bethlehem that led the three wise men to Jesus' birthplace. Does this mean the Bible is canon in Doctor Who? This episode is bringing up far too many questions. Is God real in the Whoniverse? As some, extra-dimensional being? Or is it more of a Code Geass situation? Was the Flood an alien attack to terraform the world? Was King Herod a time traveler that sought to stop Christianity like Krasko in Rosa? Massacre of the Innocents would be a great Big Finish audio title. Was Judas an alien? Was the snake in the garden the Black Guardian? Yeah, okay, that's enough of that. Also, if Big Finish try and make any of those stories, they're gonna have to pay me a lot of money. So that was Joy to the World. Yeah, we ended the episode on a very strange note. So putting away that, let's start with the critiques. The episode was disjointed in story and pacing, making me yearn for more Anita and feel that Joy should have had a better or deeper dynamic to the Doctor. Joy was mostly good, but the way they ended her story would have gone over better if the Doctor and her had just a smidge more of a connection, because as it is, the story makes clear connections, like both being defined by a room they inhabit, are good, but he assumes a lot in this episode, landing smack bang on the Starseed being of villain guard-like origin, and figuring out exactly how to push Joy's buttons. Not by observing her over time, but living in the same room that she had only rented for a week. Shuji cries again, and while the scene is decent, it once again feels unearned. But to be fair, he does get a few great scenes in this episode, being good overall, but still falling into some of the same faults from the last season. And while the story does well to show us its minor characters ahead of time, attempting to tie them into the story well, it was hit and miss. The old codgers have some nice lines, but don't actually do much. The woman on the train was acted well, but her little side story and point of character confused me a little. The men on the mountain don't do much in character or action, and while I liked the manager and especially Trev, they died in the first half of the episode. In one's case, pretty soon after the Doctor lays eyes on him, not being as emotionally impactful as it could have been. So with this many ups and downs, I'll say I liked the episode a fair amount, but there were far too many missteps and unintentional moments that took me out to give it a shiny recommendation. So, I'll compromise between my feelings of enjoyment and depression and my critical view, and give the 2024 Christmas special Joy to the World by Stephen Moffat a 6.5 out of 10, as I said, taking objective and subjective points together, but just out of my enjoyment, it would probably be a solid 7. But compared to all the other episodes, I feel like that might be a little unfair. To cut out my objective critical views. Thank you everybody for watching my review of Joy to the World, the final Doctor Who episode of 2024. And it would have been the final video 2024, but I was a bit sick, so I couldn't record it. For the next couple of weeks, we may get into another Doctor Who thing, but the schedule is probably going to be taken up by Skeleton Crew. Me still having to do a review of episode 3 and 4, then 5 and 6. And who knows, by the time those videos are out, maybe I'll be doing a review of episode 7 and 8. But in this new year, we still have more MCU projects to look at. I just watched Kraven the Hunter, so when that goes to digital, we might see a review of that here. I already have 2 more scripts for Miraculous Reviews, so please like the video if you liked it, comment down below if you wish, consider subscribing to the channel, and I will see you in the next review. Bye!
Toast. A little piece of toast. Because there's so much to choose from. There's brown bread, white bread, all sorts of wholemeal bread. It comes in funny packages with writing on the side.